You're listening to the Empowering Process podcast with your host, Gail Kraft. Listen as she holds frank discussions around how your purpose, being present, and trusting your power impacts your life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or developing your vision, you'll find wisdom and insights you can utilize right now. Welcome your host, Gail Kraft.
Hi, everybody. Gail Kraft here from the Empowering Process podcast. And I have with me this wonderful woman, and it's Lorrel Elian. Is that how you say your last name? Sometimes I get names wrong. She's an amazing woman. We might get a little woo-woo in this meeting. Who the heck knows? But we're going to talk about the fact that what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. Now, Lorrel is a life mastery mentor. And at the end, she'll tell you a little bit more about what that means and what her new program is. But she's all about discovering your next level of life. Self-mastery is about learning to be more aware of and lean into the body-mind connection. So we're all integrated. And she helps her clients discover how much of a say they have in what their body and their life looks like. Imagine taking all of the things you love and aspire to have and create in your life, and then watching that manifest before your eyes. She's all about self-development, self-improvement. She's really a miracle. Thank you so much for being with me, Lorrel.
Oh my gosh, I'm choking up here. That was so beautiful, Gail. I just love you anyways, but thank you so much for that gracious acknowledgement.
Yeah. It really is amazing. So when we talked a little bit about, what doesn't kill you make you stronger, we both have stories about the things in our life that, actually almost killed us.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to give a little story, one of mine that I've shared before, but it really fits this particular subject. And then we'll talk about yours. So, it's funny. This is when I worked for a motivational speaker. I sold my condo. I got rid of everything. I dropped my business and I moved out of state because she wanted me there. And I was there as a project manager to help her build a retreat. I did none of that work. None. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. And and I never even got to finish that when I needed to. It was piling on and completely disrespect and very, very caustic. And I felt, what's wrong with me that I can't make this person happy? Until I literally was on the couch of my apartment thinking I was dying from a heart attack. Because what happens with motivational speakers or gurus or mentors is you put them on a pedestal. And I knew I had done this, and I knew that this was a problem. And she fell down hard. And I was laying there thinking I should call 911. And then I thought, well, this is what a broken heart feels like. I'm not having a heart attack, but it's a broken heart, right? And so you need to figure out, what is it about you that you needed to fulfill in this experience so you don't do it again. And then your heart can heal. And so I did some work, NLP, of course. And when I was done, I was ready to leave. And I sent her an email that I was leaving. And yes, what doesn't kill you, a broken heart, I think can kill you. Because I thought I was going to die, right? But I walked away from there, certainly not tougher, but way stronger. And that's what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah. I love your story. And you remind me of, yes, Kelly Clarkson's song, "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger." And that actually was the theme song for my first business coach, a very high-end program I was in, the first time I invested in me. And when I look back on that, that's the story of my life too. Uh, I had to leave the career I was because it was killing me. Actually, I'll say that. But now from where I sit, I was doing it to myself. And that's where the healing journey started. Like you said, understanding how you've come to be in the shape you're in. So that, yeah, it is true for so many people, right? They're not motivated by life being awesome. It's about when you're in the lowest, muddiest, dirtiest, most painful part of the basement. And I often say, life got low, but then I found there was a basement to that. I thought I'd hit bottom, but there was a basement.
I was on the first floor. Did I not know there was a basement too?
Right. And when I was leaving real estate, it was confusing to people. There was always this joke: you don't leave real estate unless you're a loser or you die. And I was a top producer, top lister, and but I dealt with people at the most uncomfortable time in their life. For many of them, sometimes it's the first purchase or maybe the biggest purchase of their life. So everything comes out emotionally. And I'd come from the beauty world that I was not emotionally equipped to be there. So when I was leaving, I was ostracized. And we knew that would happen because nobody wants to associate with a loser. There was so many jokes around that. And one fellow slipped into my office hoping no one saw him come in my last few days. And he says, "I don't get it." And he says, "I die if I leave because I don't know what I do." And I said, "I will die if I stay. That's what's happening with me." And so the next many years went, actually by fairly slowly, because figuring out what to do next. And that's how I found where I am today. And I've learned to understand how I've come to be in the shape I'm in. And that's what I'm trained in as a psychosomatic therapist. But it's all about energy. It's taught me to clear the stagnant energy in my body. That's not necessarily what I was told when I was embarking on it. But that's exactly what happens. So I'm trained as a master face and body reader, and that's how I navigate my world. I have been teaching that process for over a decade, and I do it in a retreat environment because it's bringing people into an environment that is no phones, no TV, no externals, so they can just be them. And that's how I healed. I had the advantage of living outside of the city, basically in a retreat environment, so I could heal. And it's been really interesting watching how people are. And you're right, at a soul level, what's going on with you, anyone at this time in their lives, comes from where they've been. And it's, it begins long before you landed in this physical body. And I talk about a lot of things today that I would never, honestly, even 3 years ago, some of the concepts that are coming to me now, I'm seeing, I'm living, and I believe that to be more true than certainly what many of us are taught growing up. Yeah.
It's really interesting what happened to me. So I can't speak for anyone else. I can only speak from my experience. When I tripped and accidentally fell into the coach life, right? I originally thought, business coaching, and then I was like, oh no, life coaching, which is a completely different animal. And then that evolved into, NLP brought me into, believe it or not, sacred geometry, into pranic healing, right? Well, how does that happen, right? Into soul realignment, because you become curious. Well, how does that connect to that? And how does that connect to that, right? And you expand and you realize that we're all connected, right? And we've been told that since we were able to communicate to one another. I don't want to say since the beginning of time, but since we were able to communicate with one another, right? I've just recently rediscovered, I have patterns on the trestle board, which is, I'll share that with you later, but it's about the Kabbalah, which is about your Sephoras, right? Which is similar to, it's your energy centers. And it's a little bit different. God does his spark, so that's the white light. And then it's the Bible being told in your body. And when you read the trestle board, it talks about I am, right? And then I am the will of God. And it talks about each Sephora and what that means. And when you pull that apart, it is just so evident that this is not news. Right. This is not news, right?
In this time, I so agree with you. In this time in which we live, we are here in physical bodies, and our soul is guiding us. And it's proved it over and over to me, that what's going on in my outer world absolutely can be traced back to my inner world. That's how I navigate what I do in my daily life. And what you're saying about, the connection. Well, I think that my experience has been that one piece opens up that awareness so that you go and do the other. Because honestly, growing up, I thought, what's wrong with me? I don't seem to absorb information. I'm like, I said one time, did I miss the day mom was teaching the other kids how to read, how to do math? How come I don't have this information in me? But then one day, about 30 years ago, I asked a question and had a realization, and then it's like all of these things started opening up. And I actually had lost my memory through the job stress situation, what it looks like in your physical body. But I say today, your body is your business. And when I through the process of learning to read bodies, it's like, wow, it's what's going on in your face is the autobiography of your life. And it is based on all of the other subtle bodies, energy bodies that we have, and how we take information in. So everything that's going on can be explained through what you see externally, but it's coming from your inner world. So there's I forget where I was going with that, Gail. get me get me back on track.
So knowing this is part of your journey for getting over what was killing you.
Yeah, well, and I often say in that spark that happened and started this process of, I call it the Great Awakening. And in those years, I met my husband, and between us, we've had these expansions happen. And today I say I should look a lot older for all the lives that I've lived in this lifetime, because the studying that has come. I used to think that I was actually stupid because I couldn't get those math multiplication tables. Well, I'm such a brilliant mind. Part of my work is my personal work is keeping it contained, because I can go so out of my body with all of these other things going on. So the study of crystals and energy and color therapy, and the businesses that I've had, the crystal singing bowls and sacred sound practitioner, teaching people to connect with their body mind connection through using the frequency and vibration of the bowls. And it goes on and on. And as I was experiencing all of these new modalities, studying the Kabbalah and that, and I used to say, why would I even be interested in this? And one day there in our family, there was a message that came through about 15 years ago that we actually weren't German, we were Jewish. And it's like, yes, I knew that. So to me, the information comes through from our soul's journey. And that new soul is planted in that time just before you're physically birthed. And that's why you live this life knowing things that you don't know. Everyone listening can place a thing in their life that, how did I know that? How did I know that? And it started coming to me as I was reading faces as this trained as this psychosomatic therapist, unraveling bodies. And I'm a someone who loves the intricacies of understanding, those puzzles, that how does this all fit together? So unraveling their faces showed me how, oh my gosh. And as I'm reading faces, doing the work for others, I'm doing the work on me. So I'm clearing this pathway. And I realize that the more I heal me, the more the information comes through. And that is true of every one of us. We are spiritual beings having a human experience in this body, and your sole purpose is to be healthy in your body. So
To be healthy in your body, to be
yes.
curious, and to seek out, to expand, right? To create. We are little mini creators. It's okay to create, and to love and to have joy. The thing is we allow the programming of society, of religion, of schooling, of peer pressure to thwart that thinking that we have so purely as a child, right? And that's what starts to kill us. All right. So what doesn't kill you? Sometimes people do die. They do allow themselves to carry the pain and the pressure and the responsibility that they put on themselves. I believe I told you at the age of 12, I had ulcers. Why did I have ulcers at the age of 12? Because at the age of 2, I took on responsibility for my family. I remember exactly what happened, where I thought, well, it's my responsibility to keep balance in this family. That was crazy. That wasn't going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The conditioning we're born into, I do believe we choose the parents, the family we're born into, for the lessons that in this soul journey, this soul time, that we want to clear. Because as we get healthy in the body, we're clearing karma from past experiences. We're recognizing, but we're not meant to stay in that. And I believe that the body dies. Yeah, the body dies. We're all on the same journey. We came in the same way, we're leaving the same way. Circumstances will be different, but it's up to you, each one of us. That how we experience it is our choice. So the greater the adversity, the greater the gift on the other side. So, and also the greater the pain and the challenge, the more your soul is saying, hey, wake up.
And that's, I, in fact, not only do I swear, I know that,
I swear too.
right, that experience that I had where I was on the couch, I was laying there going, I know I've gone through this before. Certainly not to this extent. So my bad for not learning my lesson. I choose not to go through this experience again. So I'm not leaving until I am clear as to what I need to do to fulfill that, whatever's missing myself.
Yeah.
And stop looking out. And I became so strong in my knowing of who I am. I will tell you that right after that, I returned to San Diego and I had no money. I gave everything. I was in debt, right? And I sat there and said, I will be out of debt before the end of the year. I will have a great apartment before the end of the year. I will, have my book written and published, which I did before the end of the year. And by the end of the year, my debt was gone. I was living in a luxury apartment and my business was back up and running.
Yeah. Living your soul's purpose.
Right? Because I didn't have that baggage with me anymore. Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, a big part of the healing is the recognition, like all the work that you've done on yourself. My husband is a man of the land, of a former farm boy, and he says, I've lived with you too long to not know that there's more to what's going on, because I introducing living that feng shui and energy and all the stuff that we've done. We've built houses according to feng shui principles, and all of these things that went on. But he says, in the next life, can we just get to the good stuff right away?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we need to clear it here and now. For so many people, it comes when they're close to that 40s, late 30s and early 40s. And I really felt like if I had lived my best life, I wasn't looking forward to the rest, but I knew deep inside that if I don't fix it, it's going to be a long, more painful life. And it was painful in my body.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the conundrum, I guess, if you will. And I experienced this because at 21, I was meditating, I was healing, I was doing exorcisms, clearing homes. I was doing this weird stuff that I had no idea how I was doing it. I just knew that I was tapped in and was in this community where we all was doing this stuff. And then I stopped. And what happens when you become aware and then you close the door, your cycle down is worse than it was in the first place because you know better, right? And so you feel that pressure of, I know this isn't right. I know that I'm not on the right path. I know that there's a better way. So what doesn't kill you, if you have the pain, if you have the tap on the shoulder and you don't listen, and you have the clap on the head and you don't listen, you have the brick on the head and you don't listen, you're going to get thrown through the brick wall. If you don't listen after you're thrown through the brick wall, you're going to have the brick wall fall on top of you and you will die. If it doesn't kill you, if you wake up, it will make you stronger. And by stronger, I mean the experience of just knowing, and it's an experience. We don't have enough words to explain everything that goes on with us. There's just not enough words. And it's a translation anyway, so it lacks the spark and the joy and the feeling, right? But knowing what's going on, having that feeling that this is the right path. And when I'm with a client, sometimes this is why I record. I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth sometimes, right? I've got one guy, he says, well, you told me I should use my voice. So I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm like, oh, okay. If I told you, I'm pretty sure I did, right? And he's doing fantastic. He's loving what he's doing. He's making money at what he's doing. He's on fire with what he's doing, right? Because he should be using his voice.
I love what you said, because it's so true. Speaking your truth, but using the vocal cords. This many people think about, oh, we're moving into 5D, and I don't know if that's a concept those listening have heard of before, but actually we're living in 5D. 5D is resonance. 5D is all about the voice, and it's something that I've experienced my whole life. I'm not a singer, but I always had this aspiration to. And the deeper I go into this healing, there's so much about frequency and vibration that is a bigger part of our lives than we realize. So that voice inside of each of us, if you don't express, that it forms how it looks. So as a face and body reader, it's different for everyone depending on how you feel about what's happened to you. But what I've learned, the biggest lesson that I've learned, is that it's that feeling of what you want to say, that if it's more about not having the feeling that gives you the expression. And especially for women, because we're the communicators, the collaborators, and so on, we think that we can have a feeling and like they're not listening, they don't hear me. So then this competition can start, talking over each other. And I grew up in a household of women. It's like, wow, I'm so aware of this. But when you work on that part of, what is it that you're holding inside that you're not expressing? And then being able to express yourself in a way, and it might not be totally through the voice, but working on that aspect of you, the feeling goes away and the calm is allowed to come in.
Speaking your truth will set you free.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Right. Being so concerned, again, we get back to the programming of judgment from others, right? That's killing you. Allowing judgments and opinions from others dictate the path that you take. That's not controlling your destiny. That's living someone else's destiny, right?
Where people get hung up on is, oh, I feel so judged, this and that. In that moment, that's when you do the work on you. That's why all of the therapies, breath work, yoga, drinking water, hydrating your body so
That's
that
what
you
this
can
is.
have right brain function, and that. So the reaction, what is it that's triggering you? That's where your work is. So
Right?
find that thing that is being triggered in you and work on not being triggered. It's as simple as that, but people make it more complex.
Oh my goodness, yes. And you hide from it, so you can't find, because I've done that. I've I've hidden what's going on, so I can't find it, so I can't work on it. So it keeps coming up until finally, you kind of face it. Right. Right. And I had someone say the other day, and I'm like, that is so true, that what you need to work on is what shows up in your life. So if you are surrounded by loud, chaotic people, you have chaos that you need to work on in yourself, not with them. It's not their fault. Because when you become calm and non-chaotic, first of all, they can't be chaotic around you because there's no friction, right? And second of all, they won't come around you anymore because you're boring, right? Right? So someone new will come. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's true.
Well, chaos is actually it's low frequency is how I'll describe it. And it keeps us distracted from what we're to be doing. I've had the privilege of living outside of the city but knowing the difference, but I would drive in every day. And it was one day driving in with my kids that on a weekend they said, "Mom, how come the people in the city are crazy?" I said, "Honey, aren't you lucky that you know the difference at such a young age?" And it's true that it's that chaos and there's always chaos. There is always. So are you sitting, watching, eating your meal with your phone? If you're doing that, there's your chaos. You are not able to enjoy that specific moment, enjoy the nurturing of your food. That
And can you put this down? So I will say I'm a game player. I love the games, but that is me being intentionally distracting, right? Because I want to I'm done meditating
yeah.
and I'm not getting up to work yet. Just not going to start until I'm ready to start. So I'm going to play a few games. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. Then this goes down.
Yeah.
It goes down. It doesn't carry with me, right? And that's tough when that's your business line. But
It
it's
gets
doable.
easier once you use it as a discipline for yourself, right?
Right.
Your guidelines, your boundaries.
It's a boundary. I have a friend that I visit every once in a while, and when I show up at her house for dinner, I put my phone up face down on her dining room table, and that's where it stays until I'm heading home, and I grab it on my way out, whether the phone rings or not. I'm there to visit with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Gail, I have to tell you, no one else does this.
No.
And I so appreciate that you care enough about me and my time that you do that."
Yeah. Yes, visiting my grown children, and there's always someone around too. But my phone has become it is my business connection. Everything is through there. But when I'm with my children, I don't bring it out, and I'm very vocal about it because they're on their phones, and it does create a ripple. We noticed this when I would teach the course. I taught in a 10-day retreat, and phones were checked at the door, and some of them resisted. Whatever, they all knew that that's the environment they were going to be in. But I've held firm with that, and as children grew up and they brought partners home at Christmas and all these things. That's where the rifts, the differences, the spaces in our relationship started, when the partners didn't want to leave their phone, or I would just say it. It's like, you're here in your body, but you're not here visiting. Geez, and we just met.
Right?
It's not, you're disrespecting me, but you're disrespecting yourself, first of all. My impression of you is that you're not interested. And that's everything that we're doing right in this time with Zoom, and how we're doing our business and our personal connections is about connecting. So finding the balance in that, making, when the others feel like you hear them, it's by connecting eye to eye, which is soul to soul. That's the first thing that I work with my students or my clients. If you're not, if there's struggles in your relationship with your children, with your partner, in your business, if you're not attracting clients, are you connecting? Do your clients feel like you even care?
Right. Right. And how can they if you're on your phone?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, this new environment, which is not all that new, because I'm sorry, I've been doing this for over a decade, but it's new. And honestly, I've been doing remote work since Y2K, since 99.
Mm.
Right, on the phone maybe, and I think we had WebEx then, so yes, so there was
Oh,
some,
yeah.
right, remember, yeah, some virtual stuff, terrible platform at the time, we're talking, over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's a connection that can happen if you're sincere with your intention.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I've heard so many people say, well, it's not the same as being in person. Well, no, you have to put a little effort into it.
Yeah.
In person, you just have to show up and maybe you'll connect.
Yeah. There's so much talk around the feminine, the divine feminine, and the masculine, and blah blah, and the roles. Actually, the war. There is no war, and it's about the balance or imbalance. And technology is the masculine. It's connected to the logical part of our life. So men and women, we all have that capacity. So if you are constantly being in that masculine role, constantly on the computer, which I am, so I'm very conscious about how I have to balance that with my nutrition, with my body work, to anchor me in my body, to be present in my body. But if you're constantly in that techno world, you'll be constantly out of your body. And we would see that with students when they'd arrive, that busyness, there's grittiness, there's edginess, there's, settling in. And then when they'd be leaving, 10 days later, they'd be hovering at the door a different level. And they wouldn't want to leave. And they would say, we were always prepared for this. We knew this was coming. They'd say, yeah, but now I have to go out there to the real world.
Well, bring this with you. Yes,
Yeah,
just bring this
yeah.
with you. And we all struggle with that when we become aware that we have control over the energy that we receive and that we emit. Right. If you had first met me, I mean, you already know that I have a higher energy than what's necessary. If you knew me,
Yeah, you have to stay anchored in your body.
I have to stay
work
anchored.
at that.
But
Yeah.
if you knew me before,
Yeah.
I was nowhere in my body. And what that means is I was out here, I was bigger than life. My energy filled up the room.
Mhm.
Now my energy can still fill up the room, but it doesn't have to do it this way. It can do it this way.
Well, this is
Right.
true. Yeah.
Right.
Nobody steals your energy. There are energy vampires out there, but they can't take anything from you unless you give that.
Right.
So that's those triggers and that we talked about. My first meditation retreat was a 10-day retreat in my real estate career back then, and I wrote a deal the night before, and so I had all of this chaos going on. And then at the end of day 10, getting into my car, I got back out again, and I looked, it's like that somebody tried to steal my car, because I had to adjust the seat and everything. And that was the beginning of the end of my life the way I knew it then. It was the beginning of the end of my real estate career, because I realized what chaos I had plunged myself into, what insanity I had created. And every day I could feel that feeling of calmness leaving. It was, Yeah, I was really sad. I'll always remember that. That's my marker still today. So I work on it every day, as you do too, Gail. You
Right,
work
I know.
on it every day. We're so, and it's not doesn't get it any easier, because actually the easier the more you're in it, the more aware. And it's like I don't go to restaurants. My husband thought the best solution for a happy marriage was having that motorhome, because I've got my own kitchen, my own bathroom, my own bedroom, my own closet. I can just be contained.
Right,
And truly in our physical body, that's our search, is to be whole, perfect, and complete, and to feel that in our body in this life.
right, right. And then when you feel that, you are able to give, right, without giving up of yourself. And again, when you give up of yourself, you're killing yourself and it hurts. And so, one of the things we're asking you to do is don't give up of yourself until you're whole, or that you feel whole. We're never whole. It's a journey, right?
Yeah.
And I put a note here where we're talking about energy, and you mentioned psychiatric work at some level, but I want to share the story with you.
Yeah.
Psychosomatic. I was 16, 17. No, I must have been 18. And I had a friend who was going to college to be a psychiatrist. And he says, I want to test this out on you. And he had 6 colors. And he says, pull whichever color speaks to you first in that order. And I did. And then he wrote down the order, shuffled the colors, and he put them out again. He goes, please do it again. And I did. And I pulled it together. He goes, okay, I'm going to analyze you based on the colors you pulled.
Mm-hmm.
What he came back with blew both of us away, because he said, he said, I've never seen this before. What was he, 20? He's never seen this before, right? But you are both masculine and feminine. He said, you can understand my pain as well as the girl next to me. He said, I've never had a woman who can understand my pain. He goes, you organically, naturally can connect to both. I was, like I said, 18. I was just out of high school. It was my first job. And he's telling me this. And I'm like, is that odd? Is that not normal? Right? You're telling me that's not normal? You're telling me I'm odd, right? Right? So we don't come in this world out of balance. This is basically what I'm saying. And at that point in my life, I had been able to maintain, regardless of what I went through, some of that balance from a compassion perspective, right? I always could relate to male and female. People would say,
you're blessed,
right?
Or blessed.
Well, I was one of the guys, as a teenager, I hung out with the guys, right? Until I chose not to. And I knew it was a conscious choice. Mm-hmm. And so I knew then that I had choices and that I could direct my life just by doing something differently. Yeah. So we all have those choices.
Yeah. It makes me sad that so many women feel so pissed off at the men, because the men want to be there. The men are on a journey of their own. It's like the difference between the different generations, the boomers, the Y, the Z, the millennials. It's like, stop being pissed off at people. It's just making you pissed off. You're not enjoying the sweetness in life. Look at the balance. And truly, from all of the faces and bodies I've read as I traveled the world, I don't see man and woman anymore. I see male and female. And because I had become too masculine, so it wasn't a pretty picture. So for each of us, that masculine and feminine will show up in how you flesh out. And it's not your true design. It's not your soul's purpose. It's your soul pointing out to you, hey, pay attention to this. Come back into balance.
Mm-hmm. Right? Come back into balance. So when you're in balance, and so here's the oxymoron. I have a few blogs about this. That is also not ever achievable. right? Balance.
The ebb and
But
the
it's
flow
a
of your
seesaw,
day.
right? It's a seesaw, right? Right. So understand, that things aren't as easy as people tend to say they are, and it is not a one and done deal,
Mhm.
right? That it's a process, that it's an evolution, that we're getting better. And yes, even with all the awareness that we have achieved, what doesn't kill us will make us stronger. But this is the thing, we have to choose to face what's trying to kill us, because it's trying to kill you.
Well, I, so I'm just a little conflicted with the languaging because that's a big part of my life too. So yes, truly. And passion. What do you have a passion for? Well, actually, the root of the word, the meaning of the word passion is like the passion play of Christ. It means a death of life, the way it used to be. There can't be transformation without death. So look to what will bring new light, or a new light, new life into your body, into your life. And it comes down to all of those things that are standing in your way. And it's a choice to look at it as, okay, what can I do? Because we can't control others. We can only control us and how we feel about what's happened to us. That's how we end up with that face that mom says, don't make that face, you'll stay that way. That's what happens in life. So change your outlook, which will change how you feel, which will change how you look. And that is actually the summation of my journey. I never expected that I would look the way I do today, because that's not how I used to look. But it's proof of how that healing journey, the pain, brought me to looking at life differently, to feeling differently about how I was being in my life, which is a metaphor for how I was being in my body. So that would be my message to people, is to take a
And
look at it and get out of your own way.
with some help, please, because doing this journey on your own is
Oh,
very hard.
yeah.
Very
Right.
hard.
So, and here's what I've learned, because I teach basically emotional release. Removing the karma is emotional release. You don't have to go into the story. You just need to do the work. But you can only go as far as you can go, because you only know as much as you know. So you need a guide, you need a mentor, you need a teacher. We do, because otherwise you're just going to stay with what's familiar. And that's the family. That's why you look like your family.
Right?
Yeah. I
Right.
no
I used
longer
to,
look like my family. And again, I'm proof, proof to just me. It doesn't matter to me if anybody else sees it or not.
well, and I used to say, so I can tell who is related to me the second they start walking down the street, because we all look alike. And yet, I can see the similarities in my face now, but I can also see the differences in my face now.
Yeah.
And I have a niece who is a paraplegic, and so she's very aware of what she can see, right? Her observation. And when I see her, she'll say, "Did you just get younger?" Right? I'm like,
Well,
no,
that's
but
what
thank you.
happens, right? As
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you very
As a
much.
face reader, with
Yeah.
when I'm reading faces, that's generally, I would say 99.9% of the situation with people. We prematurely age because of where the chakras are, and the heart chakras, that area below the eyes. And the eyes, we're seeing all the stuff that hurts us, and we carry our emotional baggage on our face right through there. So as you clear your karma, you do get younger. You remove the bags under your eyes. Yeah, unpack them. Let them
My
go.
God, I can't tell you the last time I used a stick to get rid of the dark circles, because I don't have them anymore.
Yeah. Well,
right?
that's
Yeah.
what I say. I should look older. For people are, yeah, I'm proud to say how old I am, but the age that I am, because I've survived. I survived my journey.
Right, right. It's just kind of crazy. So, Laurel, how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about what you do?
Yeah, LorrelElian.com.
There
Yeah,
you go.
just Google me.
Yeah, just Google her. She's easy to find. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. This is Gail Craft from the Empowering Process podcast. And if there's something in here that kind of sparked you or you got curious about, or if you have even more questions, comment at it. We'll take a look and maybe we'll get back together and answer some of your questions. If there's someone you know who might really get something out of this and maybe grow a little bit or get curious, share it out to them and let them know. And as always, like, subscribe, let us know that this mattered to you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.